My name is Sam Liccardo. I'm a council member. I represent the downtown district of San Jose and a portion of the east side. And of course, I'm being asked in 2 minutes to talk about immigration, gangs, safety, and racial profiling. So that shouldn't be a problem to cover in that period of time. Obviously, these are very complex issues. And we recognize and appreciate the community's involvement because of the seriousness and the complexity of these issues. And there's also a complexity here because there's a tension between the fact that while we may look at who is stopped and who is arrested and say that they may be disproportionately people of color in the community, we also have to look at who the victims of crime are and how they are also disproportionately people of color in the community, and all too often people who are of lower income. And so because of the complexity of these problems, what we really need is relationship building. We need to build trust. And I want to say, in terms of my observation as Chief Rob Davis, I know that there's been a lot of criticism of this department. But you know, Chief Davis spent a couple hours out at Sacred Heart Parish in my district on a Sunday in Spanish, speaking to a Spanish-speaking community about these same challenges in their community. He stood at several PACT forums to emphatically say that the San Jose Police Department is not involved in enforcing federal immigration laws. On terms of towing, after a PACT meeting, I got together with Dan Katz, who works under Chief Davis, or did at the time, and we worked on modifying the department's approach to towing to ensure that relatives of the driver could be notified if a driver was driving without a license, so they could come out and pick up the car to avoid towing. And so these kinds of efforts are being made, but let me emphasize the critical relationship isn't really with the chief. The critical relationship is with the beat officer. It's with the officer that an individual encounters. It's that relationship between the 19-year-old on the street and the officer on the street. And that's where relationship building needs to start. Let me emphasize that I think, and I know this parish has stated very clearly, as my own downtown neighborhoods have emphasized, we need longer rotation periods for police officers in communities. If they're here in 6 months and gone, there is no relationship that can be built between the officer and that community. And Chief Davis hasn't been the obstacle there. I've spent a lot of time trying to work with the police union to see if they would be willing to bend on this issue. Bobby Lopez pronounced in front of a large group of my neighborhood leaders that they'd be willing to try a pilot project on this, and that promise more or less went away. What we really need is to engage the union in a really concrete way to enable officers to stay in communities, particularly in many of the communities of color that I represent and are here on the east side, to build relationships. We also need, I think what Judge Cordell is doing over at the IPA, we need more communication between people who have hostile encounters of some kind or another with an officer. And what Judge Cordell will tell you about is what she's doing to encourage mediation after a complaint has been filed, to enable an officer to speak directly with the complainant so they can talk about what happened, why people did what they did. And I think what we're going to find with this whole effort is extraordinary success in terms of fostering communication between community members and individual officers. I know Sal is here with the La Raza Roundtable. La Raza is working with the department as well in an effort to create opportunities for mediation. I really want to emphasize these problems are complex and they're not going to get resolved in the next 30 minutes. It's going to take a long-term effort of building relationships of trust, and I look forward to participating with you to do just that.